Hey guys, welcome to DragonWorks. 1983 Honda XL600R. The bike originally came in, another shop had just rebuilt the motor, the top end, and they didn't get 30 minutes to an hour worth of riding and they were already having trouble with it. It would start cold, then they ride it, would never start hot, and it just seemed like it lost power, what have you. So I don't believe I did a video on the thing. If I did, I lost it. So I'll be popping up some pictures and some clips I'll add in here. So basically the first thing I did, you know me, is I checked compression on the engine. It was low. So I did a leak down test to figure out what was going on, and it was leaking everywhere, out the intake, through the gaskets. It was just a mess. The workmanship kind of made it a little suspect. It's hard to believe that a shop actually did this work. They just left like the dirt on the engine. I'm talking about dirt from riding and things like that. And that's what some of the problems were. They actually got some debris down in the motor when they were putting it together and scratched it all up. But the number one thing we found as a problem, my machinist found it, the cylinder was never bored large enough. They did an 1 millimeter overbore and they never finished boring it, so it was too tight. And that's one of the reasons that it scratched everything up real bad. So I got my guy to bore it properly and to hone it to match the piston exactly. We were able to reuse the piston and just got some new rings. The other problem was the valve situation. The guy spent all this money having the cam sent off and reground and new valves and springs and all this, and they had the wrong retainers on, mixed matched, and the retainer locks were, some of them weren't even fitting in. The holes in the top of the retainers were different sizes. I mean, this thing was just a mess. It was just a laundry list of things wrong with it. So anyway, we got all that stuff taken care of, and I'm kind of doing this video because it's been a long hold up on it. The machine shop took almost a month. The guy was way behind, and then he got this flu that was going around and on and on and on. So that took forever. Then I got a gasket kit for it. That's when I found out a bunch of gaskets weren't the same, so I had to order them. Well, I couldn't find any, and some were on back order, and on and on and on. But that's what happens when you work on vintage motorcycles. Half of your time is just chasing down the right parts and things like that. So anyway, this video is just going to be, I finally got the motor back together and in the frame, and that's going to be this video. And then the next video, I'll get everything hooked back up, we'll get it started, broke in, and we'll do some ride videos. So if I haven't already popped up a bunch of pictures and stuff like that, you're going to see a couple clips, just some last minute things when I was putting the motor together. And I did some explaining. It's not a how-to video, but sometimes people will refer to a video to see how to set the timing. So I did a little bit of that stuff. But 1983 Honda XL600R by DragonWorks. All right, guys, as you can see, we got a little progress on the XL600R top end. Just installed the piston, got new rings on it. We got our cylinder back. This was a little bit of a delay here because I've got an awesome machinist, but he's an older guy. He's like me. He's a one-man shop. Got one hell of facility. Never seen anything like it. Just huge. But yeah, you can't find anybody who wants to work or show up on time or come in every day. So he's a little backed up like me, but to get it right, it's worth waiting for, I always say. So this is bored correctly now. I checked the ring gap was perfect. I think we were at like 95 thousandths, which is right in the middle of the spec. I rebuilt this head. Supposedly it just had been rebuilt and they put in new valve seats and guides and did all this work. Well, it wasn't holding at all. They had mix match retainers on the top here. The springs weren't even sitting down in the purchase correctly. So that's got new seals and everything. That's all done, ready to go. And I'm about to put in the cam, set the timing, and install the rocker box. And that should wrap up the top end. I'll get the carbs all cleaned up. We'll get this thing back on the bike and get it running for the customer. So yeah, stand by and we'll check in here when I get this thing wrapped up. Okay, some of you might have already heard this or whatever, but let me back up a little bit. I'm actually rebuilding this motor that was just rebuilt. I mean, it's been a while, but the guy only got to ride it for like 30 minutes to an hour, and then it wouldn't restart after another shop had rebuilt it. And I keep forgetting to go over the specs. So it's got a Wiseco overbore 101 millimeter 11-to-1 compression piston in it. And then they sent the cam off to Megacycle Cams in California and had it reground for a stage 1 cam. It's 325 lift, 246 duration on that. And it's got heavy duty springs, brand new valves, all that stuff. It was just all installed incorrectly, that's all. But we got good products in here, so it's been overboard, bigger cam, you know, things like that. So this thing should run a little bit better, give him a little more power. But basically, yeah, I didn't buy all these parts. They were here, they just were improperly installed, and that's where the guy had the problem. So anyway, I forgot to mention that. Just wanted to go over some specs for people who might be wondering. Okay, guys, we got our flywheel crank at top dead center here. See the line inside there matches up with the notch in the observation hole. All right, let's look at the cam. Okay, we got some little lines here. See that line on the gear, that little dash? There's one on each side. Sorry, get my light here. I'll show you here in a second. But anyway, you got to line those up with the top of this surface. Sorry, I'm at a really bad angle. I can't show you because what I got here, let me show you. So if you put these at top dead center, it'll just keep trying to rock back and forth because it's at the crown of the crankshaft. So I've got this heavy wrench leaning on here to hold that exactly at top dead center. So if I move this motor to give you a better angle, it will no longer be at top dead center, and this won't make much sense. So I got to come around here and kind of shoot backwards. But you can see how the lines on the cam gear line up with the top of, where are we at this surface right here on both sides. Terrible explanation, but almost every motor is the same. So if you don't quite get this one, you can look at any other motor and it's all basically the same thing. So now I got my timing mark set. So this cam is timed perfectly to the crank. I got my tensioner back in, so that's holding all the tension on here. You're only able to get one bolt on at a time, but now you can turn this engine over that everything's tight and put your other bolt in. That's how you have to do these. Sorry, it's not really a tutorial, but some people might have wanted to check in and see about timing their top end. That's how you do that. Okay, got my bolts in, and now I'll turn my engine back over to top dead center, which puts all my cam lobes pointing down, and there'll be no interference to my rocker arms when I put the rocker box on. Okay guys, so I got my rocker box installed. Everything back together, in top end's pretty much all back together now. I'll go ahead and set my valve lash here, put my caps on, and this puppy will be ready to get back into the frame. Finally. Okay guys, and there we got it stabbed back in the frame. Now the work really begins, right? You're like, oh man, can't wait to get that motor back in there, I'm done. But now it's hooking everything up and getting the exhaust on, the carbs on, hooking all the wires back up, and then firing her up and getting her running, breaking it in, adjusting it, all that stuff. So how about we'll save that for the next video, and we'll wrap it up here. 1983 Honda XL600R top end. Thanks for watching.